Okay,
So,
all right. I'm going to start now. All right, talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. There we go. Okay, it is now time for me to contact the Orbs.
Wait, did you see that? Too fast. Let me slow that down.
Okay, it is...
I'm in my video editor. That orb appeared in the first second of my channeling. We were investigating if spirit channeling could be used to invite an orb into a confined space, like the box you just saw. That experiment was not only a success, but there was a precision timing aspect that we hadn't planned for. The result was amazing. It all started months ago when Scott captured this unusual object in his camera, and I was assigned to remote view this work, without having any information about it, in what remote viewers call a blind tasking. I'd been trained in 3 different remote viewing styles, and my remote viewing said these things were flying around his county. They had consciousness, steered, navigated, floating free, unattached, and were possibly spirits or incorporeal entities. Later on, while watching his sky videos, I started wondering. My remote viewing said these things had consciousness. As a practiced channeler, I wondered if they could be contacted. I've been practicing semi-trance channeling now for 28 years. Think of it as a half-duplex telepathic communication link. Either you can talk or they can, but not both at the same time. You hear their responses in your mind as words. I record and transcribe all my sessions into text documents that I study with interest. But I've always remained skeptical, since I've never gotten definitive proof my channeling was real. But what you're seeing here in this experiment is changing my mind. While in my video editor, I discovered something important. There was an orb appearing in the first second of my channeling session. Let me show you how this works. When Scott called me, his camera picked up my cell phone, and I was able to synchronize those 2 audio streams, his camcorder audio and my voice audio, recorded in New Jersey. Let me just play this section so you can see how they sync up.
All right, I'm going to start now. All right, talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I put my phone down, verified my recorder was still running, then started my channeling.
Okay, it is now time for me to contact the Orbs.
Now let me make the video window bigger so you can see what's going on. As I started speaking, the orb appears in the box.
Okay, it is now time.
Impressive coordination. And notice that it occurred within the first second. Look at the timing at lower right. There are 120 frames per second. This section of video is run through my tracker program. If I turn it off, you can see the highlighted original video. Off and on again. I am channeling them here in New Jersey, but they are reacting in California as though they hear me. Just a quick review of our progress so far. My first experiment with Scott was simply to channel the orbs and invite them to appear in front of his camera, pointed straight up into the sky. Scott went through all 15 minutes of video, frame by frame, and published those results in the video link shown on your screen now. There were 10 times the number of orbs present during my 5-minute channeling interval. An interesting and encouraging start. From my view, I didn't feel these results were anywhere near conclusive. I always tend to remain skeptical. The other point was, since there were orbs in all 3 sections, the 5-minute pre- and post-recording intervals Along with my channeling, it hinted these orbs were more plentiful and random than we initially thought. Maybe these UAPs were more like intelligent, energy-based life forms. So, as a follow-on experiment, I suggested inviting the orbs into a more confined space, an open box facing the camera. If they entered the box, that result would more strongly imply my channeling was both effective and for real. That was the experiment you just saw. An orb appeared in the first second of my channeling session. This was my first indication maybe my channeling was real. But the question I had to ask was, could that have been a coincidence? Another orb appeared in the box just before I started my channeling session. A confusing influence. I started wondering if my instructions to the orb were somehow confusing. Did I make it clear to them when to appear in the box? We did some other experiments too, and not all of these were successful. In our second attempt, Scott moved the black box and his equipment indoors. This seemed like a great idea to avoid the wind and shifting tree shadows. But that experiment produced no data due to lighting problems. I also tried inviting the orbs to join me on camera in my living room. This also returned no results, possibly suggesting orb photography was better suited for outdoor locations. Maybe they feel more comfortable in a natural setting. Remember, we don't know what we're dealing with here, so these little observations could lead to experimental improvements. When we redid the box experiment, now for the third time, I couldn't contain my excitement. Let me just play the Zoom meeting where I presented these results to Scott. Here you go. This computer.
Progress.
Okay, so you're looking at my video editor here. Now, let me just walk you through this a little bit. So I've got your original video track and your audio track, and I've added time code that you can see here.
Yes.
All right? So at the beginning of the call, your voice sounds like this, coming through your camera.
Good afternoon, Don. Got it.
I am good. I've got my speaking script, my battling script, right here. Well, okay, so let me just continue here with my little presentation. So what I have done now is I've taken the audio track from my handheld voice recorder and lined it up with yours. So now the sound sounds like this, starting with me hearing my phone ringing. Hello, Scott.
Perfect. On it. How are you?
I am good. I've got my speaking script, my channeling script, right in front of my eyes.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so do you see how that all lines up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to skip ahead here. This is where we sort of part ways. You hang up on your call, and then I go into my channeling thing. So, okay? So just to give you a sense of what's going on here. I'll give me a call back in 5 minutes' time.
Okay. We'll do it.
All right. Bye-bye now. Okay. I would like to invite the orbs that we have been seeing flying in the sky to join us for another experiment. Okay, so now you can see how all of this is lining up. Your call, my call with yours, then you hang up, this continues. Now, here's where this gets very interesting. All right, so okay, I have located the box. This is the orbs. Now I'm in a channeling session and they are talking to me. Okay, I have located the box and we are proceeding inside it. Period. Sounds good. Period. New line. Don't worry. We have found the box and are positioned inside. Now, Oh, man.
Okay, now here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna zoom up on this region here. This
Unbelievable.
okay. So what I have done now is I've extracted this region, starting with.
Don't worry. We have found the box and are positioned inside now.
Now I've extracted this region and run it through the tracker. So now you're seeing, okay, the complete thing. And let me just expand this a little bit. All right, so this is the word now. Let me just play this for you here.
Now.
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't even believe it.
Watch this. This is now. This is the word now. Look at this.
I know, Don. It's so good. It's unbelievable. Actually, that's what I can't believe it.
I could hardly believe it myself.
I can see why people don't believe in this stuff because it's so unbelievable.
It is precisely to my mouth speaking the word. And then as soon as the word ends, they're out of the box.
Don't worry. We have found the box and are positioned inside now. Positioned inside now.
Okay, we're talking about something that is more precise and accurate and interdimensional. When I showed my sister this setup, okay, her immediate question was, how did it know where he was? And I have no answer for that question. Okay, I
Because it would have to understand space and time. It would have to understand that concept.
yes. So I'm just trying to think here. Is it because we were talking on the phone and it's somehow through our connection through the phone that it could trace you to where you were? Or is it even more profound than that, where it's my mind is communicating with your mind at a different dimensional level, but we're speaking, right? But like it can see our minds, and then it found your mind and found out where you were physically located. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, let's take what you and I know and are familiar with, some concepts. Because that's what I thought of when we did it, I think last time. Remote viewing and precognition. If you were an expert as a human being in those two things, that would explain in a way that you and I could understand. But to me, it could also be instantaneous. You know how two things can be in the same place at the same time? One thing can be in two places at one time. What's that called? Biolocation.
All right.
You know, spooky action at a distance. What Einstein, I think he coined that.
Right.
So it could be like three potential things. That's what's amazing to me about it. But what did your sister think? What was her?
Okay, so first she was giving me the usual Donna's doing something nutty again, kind of and but then when I stepped through the frames and I showed her how it was matching to the word, she got very interested.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to essentially make a video showing people exactly what I just showed you, how I lined it up, then I ran it through the tracker, and then hooked up, and we're looking at it matching up to the words exactly on the timeline here. All right.
It's so compelling. And I can see why you were saying I don't even believe it. Like, because I was telling my wife, I'm like, I don't know why Don. I would think Don would have an easier time crossing the belief line than me, but he's more of a skeptic than even I am on this stuff. Because I was telling her, I shared the clip you sent me the other day, and I'm like, I wonder why that is. Like, why is Don more of a skeptic than me? I'm having an easier time believing this stuff, than Don is. But what you just demonstrated to me is way more powerful than the video clip alone.
Yeah, I think that when you go through it step by step in that way, people can catch on, then they realize what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially the alignment with the word now. I mean, this is just, okay, so let me just respond to your, why does Don have all this disbelief? When you start hearing mental activity in the background of your mind, you don't know what it is. I've heard all my life that, you're going crazy, all of these sorts of things. I had no real idea what I was dealing with. So being skeptical allowed me to maintain my sort of like separation from worry, maybe, concern.
That makes sense.
And then, but this is the first time I've ever seen anything where it's sort of definitive that, the channeling was actually effective in this thing. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, you have grown into it, and you're still growing into it.
I've gotten to the point where successive steps and evidence have gotten me to this point where I can no longer disbelieve. I think what we've got here is something that could stir up a lot of interest.
This is very interesting to me. I think I started with the funnel really wide. I'm like, okay, I'm going to believe all of this, and then I'm going to go out and make myself disbelieve it, right? I'm going to prove to myself what's going to fit in the funnel. I'm like, okay, I have to believe it all and then work backwards from there.
We're heading into this in a very interesting way. We're kind of meeting in the middle with, completely different, total disbelief and total acceptance kind of like converging here. Hold on one second.
That is really cool. I mean, that's so friggin' precise. That's so...
We are dealing with something exceptional.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're just getting started now.